Hey everybody, welcome back to the Court of Random Opinion. My name is Lauren Neidigh. I'm here with my friend Bruce from Oregon, who's joining us from his new van. I guess I guess you had it for a while now, but Bruce, you don't have to tell us.
The tech van.
Yeah, you don't have to tell us exactly where you are, but I'm assuming
I'll tell you exactly where I am. I'm in my driveway.
Oh, you're in your driveway. Oh, okay. I thought you were on the road again.
No, I need to sell my house. So
yeah, I mean that's that's fair. Do you have to be home to do that? No, I'm just kidding. All right, guys.
You actually don't, but
no, I was being sarcastic.
The shower is free, so
all right. I'll give you that. Oh, I see Bruce is practicing for trial.
That's right. The tech van is here.
You know what
I have
sucks?
AC that actually works.
Oh, I can see you like perfectly now. I think your camera's better. Yeah. So what sucks is I'm gonna be in town in Phoenix area for Laura's hearing that's coming up on July 11th, but it's like a non-appearance hearing. So I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Like that, I'll still go. You know what I mean? I'll still go, like, because Rob went last time when they did the arraignment and all that. And I guess some people showed up, but they, it was on Zoom or whatever. I'll still go because I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna have nothing else to do.
Now, is this one they actually broadcast or record? Or?
I have no idea, but since I'm already going to be there,
go?
I guess so. But I am going to be there for Zach Peters'. It's called the Zactivated Live Tour or something like that.
Yes.
For his podcast, so I'm going to be there, and so I'm just going to go hang out, I guess.
Nice.
Right. So
if court is boring, you have other things to do.
Well, I could leave the courthouse and find something else, like less boring, I guess. I don't really have anything to do until the 13th. So
like if it's 5 minutes or if they don't let you in, it's not a waste of time.
No. I'm going to go do something else. Like the worst comes to worst, I'll go to the mountains or something because I love to do that.
Very good.
Especially by myself because I hate traveling with people. So it's going to be fun.
Oh.
Yeah. But I haven't actually been out there since last year. And then, I lived in Arizona for a bit, so I do miss it. Even though it's really hot this time of year, I got used to it. So, so if anybody is around there, I will be there. So just let me know, and maybe we can hang out. Unless you're weird, then I won't answer you. So, Bruce, don't text me. All right. This guy, Rich Lieberman.
Yes.
We've heard him talk
Our
a couple
good buddy
times
Rich.
now. Yeah, I hear people calling him Uncle. What is it, Uncle something?
Oh, geez. I
don't know if that's a term of endearment.
It's not.
Is that a term of endearment or no?
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Okay, so
I don't think so. I mean, maybe, but I'm just not into. I'm interested in what he has to say. I'm not really interested in talking about his appearance or whether he looks like a particular TV show character or celebrity or whatever. I don't care about that. I'm interested in the facts of the case.
I think you look like a love. That's not an insult, it's just is what it is. No, I actually have no idea.
6 eggs just popped out of me, so you're not wrong.
Oh fuck, bro, that's disgusting. Oh god.
Oh boy.
Okay, so it's not nice. So we're not going to talk about that then. We'll just call him Rich. How about that? Well, he put out another video today talking about Ronn and the GoFundMe, and so we're going to take a little bit of a look at that. This is much more than he said before. I want to be clear that Rich is not saying that anyone has, he's not condemning anyone or saying that anyone's done anything for certain. He's just saying, there are questions. These are legit questions, and that's certainly more than he was willing to say in the first place. So, so we're going to listen to some of that. I don't want to play all of it because I want people to watch his thing because he has some interesting stuff to say. Obviously, he has a history of the family, but I don't want.
We don't have to play the whole thing. I took a lot of notes, so I have some observations.
Well, kind of like with David, I wanted to let David talk about his cat and his life and stuff like that. I don't want to take that away from him. If you want to hear about it, you got to go hear about it from him. But like with Rich too. So yeah, I didn't get to the guitar part because he threatened to sue me before that, so I stopped watching.
Yeah.
So I guess I missed out on that. Did you ever play it?
I think he played a few chords. He didn't play a song or anything that I recall.
Okay.
But, I think he's working on it.
I'm a little bummed out, to be honest. So I guess it would have been deleted anyways by this point.
I mean, if he's not going to go to the U.S. Supreme Court, maybe he'll have more time to work on his guitar.
I wouldn't
That's
rule
probably
that
for
one
the
out
best.
Yet. He's probably bored.
It's for all the best.
He can't tweet about this stuff anymore because, the lawyer wants everyone to shut up, which is the smart thing to do.
For sure.
So, I mean, maybe he'll try the Supreme Court. If nothing else, it'll be something to laugh at. So, all right.
Let me pull this
up real quick. What? Oh, no. Nobody would recommend that. But that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I wouldn't have recommended anything that man did, especially letting his client run her mouth off as long. Because clearly she can be persuaded to shut up, but he failed to do so that entire time. So, all right,
the context is a little different. I mean, they were in a paternity case, and now we're talking about a criminal case.
I don't know, dude.
But still, I agree in principle. I agree in principle.
Yeah. I feel like he could have tried a little harder. He probably egged her on. Oh, look, it's a moose and a human. Oh, I'm guessing you're the moose. Okay.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. I thought you were a raccoon.
Only at night.
It is nighttime, bro.
Maybe for you.
Yeah. Oh. It's like past 7
bright out here.
Is it? I can't actually see because you're in a dark
I could go do yard work right now, but no.
Do you keep candy in there and try to lure people in? Or is that how you operate?
I wish I had some candy. I'd eat it. Why would I give somebody else my candy?
I don't know.
That's what I never understood. Yes. You know the thing about Halloween, and they're like, oh, the hippies are putting weed in the Halloween candy. And I'm like, you think they're going to waste their weed on dumb little kids from the neighborhood? Heck no.
Right. Yeah, no way. That could get costly depending on how many people you wanted to get high. So.
Right? Forget that. Not giving anybody any candy. Forget it.
So we're going to start, and I'll have to make sure you tell me if you can hear the sound, and then we'll get into it.
I got a ton of...
Is it too loud, too soft? Are we good?
It's okay. Maybe it's a little loud, but chat will tell you.
We'll try this.
There you go. Yeah, just dial it.
We'll let him talk for a minute. Yeah.
Little squidge.
Little squidge. All right, we'll let him talk for a minute and then we'll stop.
Of bad pub saying the inference was that I was covering up, that I didn't say anything about Ronn's situation with regards to this massive fund that he set up through GoFundMe. The inference was that they were using, they being Ronn and his wife, Jan, that they were using some of that money to cover legal expenses associated with his daughter, Laura Owens. And I talked to Ronn and I talked to Jan Black, and they vehemently denied that. And that was back in March. In fact, I even told them, Ronn specifically, to come on this show and to talk about that. He indicated after he initially said yes, that he couldn't because of the legal situation. This was before the indictment was announced.
So if it's before the indictment, it's interesting because nobody was shutting up at that point. So it's kind of like, well, obviously.
Well, they may have seen it. They may have seen it coming. I mean, we know that there was the referral to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. Now, there's two things I want to point out with this section of the video. Number one, he starts off talking about how he got a bunch of, what did he call it? Bad press or something, or bad.
I guess people were commenting, emailing him, I guess, because he did mention he was getting emails and stuff.
I don't know. I mean,
I know.
He does this repeatedly throughout this video, and maybe he's not a tech guy, but he talks about emails he's gotten. He talks about comments he may have got. He makes it vague. Like, I got some bad pub.
Sure.
Like, what are you talking about, buddy? Show it. Don't tell us. Like, if somebody, like, what does that mean? Was there an article somewhere that talked about you? Was it just an email? Was it a direct message? Was it a YouTube comment? Show it to us.
Yeah, comments.
Show it to us and then respond to it, because that'll give it better context and real details behind what somebody said about you, because otherwise you're just paraphrasing. It becomes vague. It becomes ambiguous. You know, it's almost like a straw man that he has set up. Whereas I want to see what they said that he's replying to. It could be a link or a timestamp or a quote or something. So he does that. That's my first thing. The second thing Oh my gosh, what was the second thing? Oh, he mentions he talks to Jan Black and Ronn Owens, and they deny that they're using the GoFundMe for what do you call it?
Legal bills.
Legal bills.
Yeah.
And it's just like, where's the transparency? Where's the evidence? They could say anything. I could say I'm Spider-Man or Superman or something. Like, are you just going to believe me? So we need to see some evidence.
I would actually probably take your word for that, to be honest.
Yeah. And sorry, Fugazi, I just have bad Wi-Fi. I apologize.
I just saw that. I'm sorry.
It's just bad Wi-Fi, buddy.
Hey, Omar, what's going on, man? So this happened yesterday, actually, or maybe it was the day before. I was with Elsrich on a stream with a bunch of people. She had a little bit of a delay because her Wi-Fi was so bad, and people in the comments were like, Elsrich keeps interrupting people, and it's just like, no, she has a 5-second delay. She can't help it. So sometimes it really is just a Wi-Fi, man. I want to give him a little bit of grace, I think, just because it seems like this is not like he's not like an established YouTuber or anything like that, you know what I mean? And also, as far as like comments, like rude comments and stuff like that go, if it includes stuff like the thing that I almost said in the beginning of the stream because I didn't realize it was an insult, then maybe he just doesn't want to relive that or repeat it. I don't know. That's just my speculation. I mean, yes, of course it would be way better if he would show, but I kind of understand there's a couple of reasons why someone might not. It is embarrassing when somebody like points out something that really hurts you, and then you're like, well, I don't want everyone to know that. You know what I mean? Except for me, because I say everything, I tell everyone everything embarrassing about my life, but that's not normal. So, yeah. Careful, Lauren threatened to take me dildo shopping.
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, he could pick out an example or two of these emails he wants to. He doesn't have to show all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. So, Omar, this crowd probably, because I only talked about this in the Justin streams when I was talking to other friends and stuff, and they have their like sponsors. You know how Dave has his sponsors and stuff he talks about in his videos? I was like, I finally got a sponsorship offer not too long ago, but it was for a sex toy company. And I think it's probably because fucking Schnitzel Ninja is always on here making those porn sounds to embarrass me. And I'm like, oh my God. But they wanted me to like hawk dildos to people for like, it was like some absurd number too. Like it was a lot of money. I was like, holy
you should have done it.
No, I will not be dildo girl. I will not do it. I'm sorry.
Why not?
It's not worth it to me. I'd rather just take some extra shifts to the hospital or something. Fuck. It's just not me. I just couldn't do it. But they were gonna have like giveaways and stuff like that, and they wanted me to do like one of those things where you spin the wheel and we win a free fucking sex toy from me. Absolutely not. No. I'm still blushing over that. Just reading that offer email. I ghosted eventually. I was just like, I don't even know how to tell you no. I just can't do this. Dildo for dollars. Dildo dollars. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's my porn stripper name, I guess. All right. Let's let Rich talk a little bit more.
Announced about a month and a half ago. I said, okay. First, he agreed that he would talk about it, albeit have to be very guarded because of the fact that, the situation is very tense. It's very serious. Allegations, accusations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I get it. I would have liked a direct no, I'm not going to participate because of that. But he initially told me yes, then he told me no. Okay. Which I discussed here on my show. Well, now, 2 weeks ago, once again, there was another article in the Chronicle. And once again, Ron was quoted as saying, look, I need more help. I need more money.
So he told Ron, no, I can't go on the show. But if he had gone on Rich's show, he could have just said, this, I really need the money and this is why. Because he's telling that to these outlets, which is kind of interesting. But I guess maybe it'd be different because then Rich might ask some questions that Ron doesn't want to answer. Also, I have, let's see, a question here from NASCAR. Carol says, isn't it about time the body cam footage that Schnitzel paid for comes out? We all, including Schnitzel Ninja, certainly think so. But unfortunately, the system is very backed up. So she had to pay for that. And now they're still processing stuff that was backed up to like January, I think it was, or something like that. Whatever her last update was. So it's going to take a while longer. Unfortunately, these things do take a lot of time. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're still waiting for the 911 call from June 10th.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Over a year ago.
There's been so many, so many calls.
Yeah.
All right. So anyways, I don't know if you guys ever saw this, or Bruce, I don't know if you ever saw this, but he had like a video about talking about Ronn, and it was a long time ago. This was over a year ago. And he was talking about Ronn and how they worked together. I don't know if they worked together at KGO or if it was in like radio. Do you know what I'm talking about? He just talked about
the
Ronn,
important part?
Their relationship, just like their relationship, and how he kind of helped Rich, and how they bonded and stuff like that. So it seems like they had some. Go ahead.
It sounds like Ronn was kind of a mentor at some point.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So to come out here and like say some of the stuff that he's about to say, I just want to point out is that's not an easy thing to do, especially if you really like someone. It's like you can make up so many excuses for someone who's important to you in your life like that. And that's why sometimes it is hard to come out and say stuff like this. So I do want to, again, I know I've been pretty harsh in the past. Again, I want to extend this guy some grace because he's going to say some stuff and he's not quite going to go as far as people want him to go. But I just want to, we'll keep that in mind when we're hearing his perspective here, because he was like crying in that video about Ronn from a while back. Like he was very like emotional and stuff. So obviously Ronn meant something to him. And so the stuff that he's about to say now, I know it probably took a lot of guts and a lot of introspection to arrive at the conclusion that, hey, maybe it's time to talk about this. So, all right.
And the author, another oblivious, in my opinion. Now, I have my issues with the Chronicle, SF Gate, all of them. But I wouldn't say anything negative unless I had substance and ammunition. And initially, the first two articles, one of which appeared Mercury News, San Francisco Chronicle, and they raised all this money. They didn't even bring up the situation regarding his daughter, Laura. And the inference at the time, and still today, was that some of that money has to be going to, which is now not one lawyer, but two very prominent lawyers.
Well, one prominent lawyer and one dick, but same thing.
Also, it's more than two. I mean,
oh God, it's so many more than two. Oh, God,
Laura had lawyers before Gingras, and her new criminal lawyer has a firm where we've just seen documents today that were prepared by another lawyer in the office. So there's multiple lawyers in the office. Yeah. So it's not just two.
Yeah, and then there's poor Josh and whoever she hired at Fiverr and all those people too. So, but he's talking about these news outlets. He mentioned SF Chronicle, which I remember and then Mercury News. Is that the one that said like some really weird stuff about Dave? I can't recall.
Maybe, yeah.
Because that was pretty recent, and I remember they were talking about him in a way that was like almost disparaging, but it was just like snarky, but not quite crossing the line into insulting. I felt like, but I can't recall.
The fist or whatever.
Yeah. The fist one. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know Mercury News then. It's SF Chronicle that I remember they had published something and then they changed it and they got like incorrect details in there and then they just removed it altogether. And I was kind of like, well, this doesn't feel like honest journalism at this point because they just like took out everything related to her criminal charges, or not criminal charges at that time, but alleged criminal charges because she had been referred to the county attorney and all that. And then like how she had lost a court case and just all this crazy stuff. And they were like, well, maybe we'll just take that out then. It's almost like a friend called in a favor. So.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with these mainstream, stories is they have to be done quickly and they're very short. So they can't do a bunch of in-depth investigation. And that's kind of a problem with that. It would be nice if they went a little deeper the way that they did over on like with Jimmy Jenkins or Bianca Buono in Arizona.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we know that most of those like outlets in San Francisco, though, there's going to be a connection there. So, but I do remember that talking about how that article had changed a couple of times. And then I was like not happy with the way that changed it. I wish I could remember exactly what it was, but I know people were looking for it today for some reason, so I'm sure we'll see it pop up again. All right, let's.
Ronn vehemently denied all that that he was using some of the money to pay for the lawyers. Jan Black also denied it. And I said, well, you realize, and I said this directly to Ron and Jan, and they've called me back and we spoke at great length. I reported that. This latest article from June 10th, in which they say we need more money, Ron specifically, they brought up the situation involving his daughter, Laura Owens. But he didn't address it, didn't say anything. When that article came out, again, I got some emails from people saying, why are you so quiet? And I said, I haven't been quiet. I told people I'm in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, a proverbial catch-22. I'm prefer to stay out of all this, but I involved myself in it because I was getting accused of being, this is a quote, bought off by Ron.
And I did see comments like that. I don't know. I don't remember if they were on his page. It might have just been like Discord or something. I remember seeing comments like that. So he's not making that up.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a catch-22 in my opinion. Like, he can just say things he knows are true. If he doesn't know something, he can just say, I don't know. And just make statements of knowledge, statements of fact, and just be very transparent in that way. I don't really see a catch-22 situation. I understand he may see pressure from people who know him through email or through YouTube comments, for sure, which is the point you're making. I understand that.
Yeah, it's just well, he seems like he's obviously been grappling with a lot of stuff here. But yeah, I mean, you're correct. Yes. Let's see.
So that I wouldn't talk about the situation involving his daughter. So what did I do? I called Ron back, texted him. I also talked to Jan Black. I didn't talk directly. I have called them repeated times to want to get something on the record or even off the record, frankly, with this latest article that appeared in the Chronicle on June the 10th. Hey guys, what's going on? Now keep in mind, and I stated this as much, I don't have kids, but I know the fact this is involving his daughter. He's a father. And his wife, Jan, she's a mother. And their daughter is entangled in this.
Okay. So as somebody with an outside perspective who obviously doesn't know the family the way that he does, I got to say, the parents, I feel like they kind of created this very toxic environment where she grew up to be who she is because they never told her no. Or they never told her the truth about like, hey, this isn't reasonable. You know, that's kind of what I feel like. So I understand he's saying like as a father or whatever, but as a father or as a mother, because, you know, Jan Black helping her daughter file frivolous FBI reports, not great parenting, especially when your daughter is of the mid-30s. Okay. So that when I'm like seeing that, I'm like, well, he had no problem involving himself in all these toxic situations and enabling his daughter in all these toxic situations. So I have a very difficult time having sympathy in that. But again, I don't know the family, so it's easier for me to say that. So, yeah. Let's see. But I saw something here. The one with Aiden changed a bunch because he's personal friends with Ron. Maybe that was a Chronicle. I don't know. I like your Muppets, Jane Jones.
Yeah, that was the article everybody was tracking.
Okay, yeah. So that was the one then. All right.
I understand that, but I also understand the very, very clear indication, the inference out there. What is going on? Something smells to high heaven. Why now, again, in this latest article, do you need more money, Ronn Owens? Because the union would they pay medical bills.
So that was probably the most important part, in my opinion, of this whole thing. Because I did watch the whole video. We're not going to show the whole video, but I did watch the whole thing. And he's just saying outright, like, listen, they're paying for all this. So what the fuck is this about? Not in those words, but that's what he's saying. What did you take from that?
Yeah, I mean, he brings up, it's a point that leads you in the direction of asking the question.
Right.
When there's no transparency in this GoFundMe, what are they really using the money for? Right. So if somebody has a SAG-AFTRA, healthcare plan, why do they need a GoFundMe? They may need a GoFundMe. Maybe the insurance company, like some people in chat are saying, are delaying and denying claims and this and that. And maybe they do need the money because they have bills. What you would do in a transparent situation is you would show your bills, and you can redact your personal identification information or whatever. Then you would do your GoFundMe for the amount of the bills, and then you would pay those bills and then show the receipts of you paying them. Mm-hmm. The problem is we haven't seen that for this GoFundMe. That's not the process that occurred here.
I don't think we're going to see that.
The other thing that happened with this GoFundMe that's interesting is as they came closer and closer to their GoFundMe goal, they would increase the goal. Mm-hmm. If you have a set amount of bills from healthcare expenses that you want to pay,
right, you
wouldn't need to, you would just set it at the goal of the bills, not move the bill or the goal of the GoFundMe up and up and up. So that's all. So all these things he's pointing out are just things that are showing him red flags. He doesn't know for sure, but it's just a red flag. That's what I take away from this.
Mm-hmm. So my kind of thing with somebody brought up health insurance, which is a good point to some extent, but at the same time, I work with insurance companies every day because now I only work part-time in the ER. So I work from home most of the time during the week, and I deal with insurance companies when they don't want to pay people's medical bills, especially Medicaid and Medicare, HMOs and stuff like that. So if somebody doesn't pay their medical bill and the hospital's like, well, we're not getting paid, they're fighting that for it's been 3 years on some of these accounts. These are from 2022. I'm like, how are you guys still even bothering with this? This was clearly medically necessary for XYZ reasons. These insurance companies, they will fight you for absolutely no reason a lot of the time, or they'll just be like, oh, we didn't get the appeal, sorry. And you have to go through second level appeals. You have to go through all this stuff. And so people will fight tooth and nail between the insurance companies to get these bills paid or not pay them. But most of the time, and I don't work, admittedly, I do not work with insurance companies in a hospital with client hospitals in Arizona. So I do Florida. We have New York clients. We have California clients. We have, I think that's about it. I'm going to say I'm leaving out one state, but when we're doing that, the people are not paying their bills in the meantime. It's under appeal. So the process is not exhausted. So if you're appealing, you don't have to pay, at least in my experience. And that is admittedly limited because obviously there's a fuck ton of different insurances in different states, and maybe things are handled differently by different companies. I don't know, because the way that I have to handle things does vary from insurance to insurance. We have hospitals that we work with, and then we have to appeal to the insurance companies that those hospitals are, trying to get the bills paid from. So I don't know. I feel like it's maybe not as much of a factor, possibly not as much of a factor as some people might think, because if you don't pay your medical bills, but you're appealing it, so I shouldn't have to pay this because, hello, this was a medically necessary surgery to keep me alive. That can be a lengthy process, but you're not paying the money up front. So that's just me.
Yeah, I think the fundamental problem is just the lack of transparency, right? It could be the case that they have medical expenses they need to pay because healthcare in the States is not the best. It's not all the best.
Putting it lightly, yeah.
The problem is we just don't know where the GoFundMe goes at the end of the day. That's the fundamental problem, is the transparency.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely true. All right, well, let's listen to him talk a little bit more.
When you put as much time, it doesn't even really matter, but Ronn was vested. He worked for multiple decades at KGO. He was in SAG-AFTRA. So again, just covering all the bases here. But I wanted to know what was taking place because there's a lot of speculation out there. There's lots of people talking about this. My name came up again. So I called Ronn again and I called Chad. And I asked them to please clear this up one way or the other. And if they didn't want to talk about it, that's fine too. But at least give me something.
Right. So like I said, he has an existing relationship with the family. They obviously had no problem talking to him about some of this stuff to some length. So why can't you tell him? Like, if there's like this person raises the question, he might be having experimental treatments which are not covered by insurance. So why wouldn't they just tell him that? Why wouldn't they just put that out there? Or like, this is why we need this money, because Ronn needs this experimental treatment that our insurance is not going to cover this. I feel like that's a no-brainer. You would just say that, you know? Especially when you're under so much scrutiny because of the criminal investigation your daughter's brought upon your family. So
I think he's just pointing out we have a lot of unknowns here, and the unknowns just raise more questions.
Karen Carson, thank you for the 5. There are some medications that are not covered by Medicare 100%, but not to the tune of $140K. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Well, well, that will be the excuse now, because we know they are all in here now getting ideas. All right.
I mean, people can make whatever claims they want to make, right? They can, and clearly they've made claims to Rich that they're not using the GoFundMe money to pay lawyers, but these are just claims. How do we verify and validate these claims?
Right. Well, I heard Bruce claimed to be Spider-Man earlier, and I don't think that's true. So.
I mean, you never know. We can claim all sorts of things.
Yeah. Jules OMN, thank you for the $2. I would not trust Jan with a 10-foot pole. I mean, I'd probably need a much longer pole.
A 10-foot pole. That's a big pole. I mean, if you swing it around, you're going to ram it into things.
Can you hold? It sounds heavy. Can you hold that? I mean, I guess you're not touching her with it, though. I'm thinking touching her with it. No, you just have to trust her with it. I don't know, man. Whatever it is, I'm going to say I agree. I would not either.
I would not,
because I wouldn't trust Jan to, you know what? I'm not going to say the thought that just popped in my head. Let's just keep watching.
Because it was not really dealt with in that article in the Chronicle on June the 10th. Well, I called once again Ronn, called Jan, left messages, multiple messages. They are not talking. They're not even saying we're not going to comment. They're not even saying no comment, anything like that. Now, I want to say something very clear. I'm not implicating Ronn or Jan Black. I'm just kind of letting you know.
And I understand the urge to say, oh my God, that's a bad freeze frame. I'm sorry, Rich.
Play like one more second. Give this guy a...
Speaking of Jan's
10-foot pole.
I'm so sorry. All right. No, so I don't even remember what I was saying now. What was he talking about? Because I just got distracted by the freeze.
So it appears he's been ghosted by Ronn and Jan because they won't return his calls. And he's not trying to make any specific claims of implication.
Right. Okay. So what I was going to say is I understand why he's going to repeat himself with that over and over again. And it's because like nobody wants to be sued, right? Even by people who may or may not have any money left. It's like nobody wants those threats. So, yeah.
And, you know, we're talking about Ronn Owens here, public figure. He's not knowingly making a false claim in this video, at least as far as I can tell. Like, someone would have to prove that he knows the answer to a question is A, and he's saying not A or B or something on purpose. And I don't think he's doing that here.
Well, he's mostly just speculating, asking questions almost.
Yeah. He's just seeing red flags and pointing them out. And he's saying, hey, a normal, reasonable person would say, what about your SAG-AFTRA insurance? What about the fact you're doing a GoFundMe at the same time your daughter's got 7 criminal indictments? Yeah. These are odd things. I'm just observing. So he's observing, and it appears they've ghosted him. So, you know, if you know, Rich, if you're in Portland, Oregon, I'll buy you a coffee because Ronn won't return your calls. If you're lonely, I'll buy you a coffee.
You have a van. Go to Rich.
I'm not going anywhere.
I know. All right.
That I wanted a response myself without getting into the weeds of his daughter's case. It's a very, very serious charge. It's an indictment. There is a case pending in Arizona. I must say, understand that many of you out there, with good reason, are suspicious. I had a very strong bonding, a friendship with Ronn. I still do. I wouldn't call it bonding anymore because of this. Because quite frankly, other than what we've talked about, me saying, I miss the days of San Francisco radio.
That's what he was saying in those
was
videos.
A giant at KGO. Putting all of that aside, I feel it's my duty to at least cover my end. I do think something smells to high heaven. I don't know what it is. I'm not implicating Ronn, but on the other hand, I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to just be silent once again, especially when my name gets brought up.
So he's having a lot of, I feel like, internal conflict here with, like, he's saying, Ronn and him had a good relationship, obviously, but then he's like, I'm not an idiot. So it is very hard when you really want to believe someone, you trust someone, you've had a good relationship with them, and you don't want to lose that, but at the same time, you're like, I'm not stupid. So it's really hard to come out and question that and finally kind of sometimes admit to yourself, like, hey, what this person is doing it's off. So,
Yeah, and I think this gets to something somebody mentioned in chat before we were live, that in this case, whether it's the paternity case or this criminal case, there's no like 50-50, 60-40, 70-30 split on the court of public opinion, okay? Like nobody's come out making videos talking about, oh yeah, I totally think Laura was pregnant with Clayton's twins. Here's why. Nobody's doing
David did. David did that.
No, he didn't. He said, maybe I'll make a video explaining why I think she was pregnant. And then he never did.
That's how he presented it and how he titled it, I guess. But you're right. He never really did that. So
no, he never explained why he personally would have believed her. He merely went through the legal arguments of saying, hey, here's maybe why it would have been reasonable for her to believe she was, and why there are legal arguments around the case related to that. But he never explained why he personally thought that she was pregnant based on 5 or 6 HCG tests alone.
No, well, that would require him to look at all the facts and have an intelligent opinion. So that
right,
didn't happen.
And I think that's where we're getting here. Is once you start seeing more and more of the information, right? You go from a sort of neutral position of like, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe Clayton knocked someone up. I don't know. Maybe somebody committed a crime. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. You go from that to having an opinion based on the evidence from your own perspective. And this case is very unique in that 99.99% of the court of public opinion that look at the case in any level of detail come to this realization. Clayton seems to be correct. The Maricopa County Attorney's Office seems to be correct in their indictments.
Clayton Richard's correct. I heard him call
he gets the guy's name wrong. He says he's the guy who played The Bachelor. Like, you don't play The Bachelor. He's out here
trying. He's trying out here, man.
One of the 4 agreements, right, is what? Be impeccable with your words. He needs to get a little more detailed on his words, but
a little clumsiness. Yeah, it was a little clumsiness.
Again, right. If he's got 3 hours, I'll walk him through the case. If he wants to get on Zoom, I'll walk him through the case. That's an offer.
Cool. Okay, so Omar is walking the chat through my playlist, distracting them from everything that we're saying. Miley Cyrus is prominently featured. True. I'm not surprised he remembers that. Meghan Trainor, I'm surprised you remember that one. Okay, and the High School Musical soundtrack, that was your playlist. So that settles that.
What?
You know what? If you want to see the chaos, just go to my Instagram. There's a highlight reel. It's called Clown Show, and it's just exclusively me trolling Omar with my music. But I don't want to get copyrighted, so
because we're on YouTube.
Okay, Sabrina.
That's all I got.
That was very special. Thank you.
I'm covering for him because the articles, any of those articles, has not dealt with the Laura Owens situation. And the feeling out there that is some of this money, if not a good portion of this GoFundMe, which continues to gain more money, is being used in a manner or in a method that is not intended. Once again, I want to make it very clear. I'm not implicating Ronn Owens. or Jan Black. I did phone, ask both of them to comment or at least give me something or anything, and they're not talking.
I need to know what Nick is telling on you for.
Probably for singing Sabrina Carpenter.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of hot. So. Omar, I sent you a link if you want it.
Whatsoever. Not even a no comment. And the article in the Chronicle doesn't even ask him about it. It's brought up, it being his daughter's legal situation. But there's no questioning him. There's no, hey, what about this? It wasn't put forth in the San Francisco Chronicle on June the 10th. I find that pretty bizarre, pretty poor journalism, if you ask me, and I think if you ask anybody else. For the record, once again, I want to make this very clear. I wasn't bought off. I stayed out of this. I am addressing this as I have.
They did not buy him off with the GoFundMe money, guys.
Folks, those of you that watch me here, the people who are associated with Clayton Richard, like Dave Neal and other folks. And by the way,
Clayton Richard
was asked
Dave Nathan
to talk about
Dave Neal and other folks. That's us, Lauren.
Confused at the time because
you're the old white guy and me, the one that got
sued. What's out there? Then subsequently, there was an indictment, very serious charges against Laura Owens. Stayed out of it still. But then June 10th arrived, almost 2 weeks ago. Now over 2 weeks ago. And people asking, well, what's going on, Rich? Why are you, what's happening? So, look, I don't need the publicity, folks. I've been involved in various situations, not like this. And I tried my very, very best to let Ron and Jan say something because they know that I've been out there and they know that people like Dave Neal have talked to me. And now it's murky. It's bizarre. It's a little odd. I'm trying to be very diplomatic. And I see a whole commotion about this. The accusations are very serious.
Wait till he finds out about the fake cancer.
To kind of stay a distance.
It's murky because of all the pond scum, maybe. Oh, you're muted, Lauren. Lauren, you got to unmute.
Oh, fuck. I was going to say, I said, wait till he finds out about the fake cancer that his daughter had. Now he's raising money for his cancer. And it's kind of like, okay, well, we got a little bit of a track record here of maybe not being so honest about the cancer. So,
yeah.
Not saying he doesn't have it. I'm just saying it looks bad, dude.
And I think he needs to really be clear when he's talking about like Dave Neal's coverage of the case versus the indictments, because he seems to be conflating he uses the word allegations a lot. Okay. Like, oh, Dave has allegations and, Laura has a story and Dave has a story, whatever. Dave is not filing criminal complaints against Laura. The Maricopa County Attorney's Office has 7 indictments from a grand jury. Dave doesn't have allegations. Dave has covered a story. So he's kind of getting these things a little mixed up. And the severity of it, I think it's downplayed because of that.
Yeah. Christina's trying to watch my back here, the alleged fake cancer. No, I'll tell you this right now. She faked cancer. That's not an allegation. That is not a speculation. I am saying she faked cancer. And if she doesn't like that, she could sue me and open herself up to discovery. So fuck you, Laura.
I mean, unless there's some evidence that refutes the Mike Maricini laptop that was reviewed by a forensic expert, right? But
Greg's a hacker. So clear. Greg is a hacker, Bruce.
Prove it.
Greg hacked the forensic tech.
Greg's working late because he's a hacker.
Greg is everyone. We're all Greg.
Oh, boy.
All right.
Understanding that you're dealing with Ron. He's dealing with the daughter who's being implicated and accused of a very serious charge. Fraud, perjury, and this is now entered beyond just gossip. There's been an indictment.
Oh, that's another thing.
I'm repeating myself.
What up?
So, he's done a couple of videos where he's like, I like sports, I like politics, I like the news. And this whole thing with the daughter is just celebrity gossip, like tabloid stuff. And I think what he's missing is, she did go to the tabloid The Sun in the beginning.
She went to all of them. They just didn't want to publish her story.
This case has multiple order of protection hearings, injunctions against harassment hearings, and a family court paternity case in the public domain. This is not just, some celebrity went out with another celebrity for lunch, and got in the limo together. These are real court cases. It's real news. Or at least, it's the real justice system in action. So I think he's sort of missing that part of it.
Yeah.
Because he's like, well, now that there's criminal indictments, it's a big deal. Before it was just the tabloid stuff. But he's missing that there were a lot of court cases that went way beyond anything in TMZ.
You're going to have to forgive me for trying to play devil's advocate a little bit tonight. That's not usually my role. It's not a good look for me.
Please do.
Okay. But I feel like, again, Ronn, having been kind of a mentor to him, and he seemed, based on his previous videos, talking about Ronn and stuff, there was some love there. And I don't like to, put words in people's mouth, but he seemed like there was some love there. And so when somebody's telling you something, obviously you really want to believe them. And so if he's saying look at all these other cases, and then he can say, kind of in a roundabout way, well, Greg didn't win his case against Laura, or the restraining order and the renewal were granted against Mike, and then say, oh, well, there's an appeal with Clayton. Then maybe it's really, you just really don't want to accept it. You want to be like, well, really, obviously this is a family that I've known and loved for a long time. So of course I'm going to take their side at first. And then it's like, oh, well, I feel a little bit bad about taking their side because something is off. And then it's like, I'm not an idiot. So we've arrived at that part here. But I don't know. It is very tricky, because I feel like there's obviously been a lot of stuff fed to him by the family directly. And we know the family's not a reliable source of information because they're directly in on the scam. I mean, come on. You don't let your daughter fake 4 or 5 pregnancies and not know about it. Fuck. So
I get it. I'm just saying that even in this video itself, he's going straight from, it was this tabloid stuff I don't care about, to now there's a criminal case and a big GoFundMe.
Yeah.
So it's like a switch went off for him. And I'm sort of saying if he digs a little deeper, the way he wants the newspapers to dig a little deeper.
Yeah, that's fair.
He would understand there's sort of a middle phase here, which is what we were really covering. I can understand he's taking it personally. They don't return my calls. He's taking it personally. And somebody in chat was very smart. They said, look, this criminal defense attorney probably told these people to stop talking to anybody. So I don't think that they're not talking to Rich because they're pissed off at Rich, or he should take it personally. I think they're not talking to him under the advice of the lawyer.
Yeah. Well, they're fine. I mean, they're finally backed into a corner after all this time. It's like, oh, there's really nowhere else to go. The FBI won't take our reports anymore. Shit, what do we do?
Yeah, it was Kimbo was pointing that out. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Let's listen.
But I want to make it very clear, so there's no innuendo, that there's no, ifs, ands, or buts, because you've contacted me. A lot of you have. What's going on?
I heard buts. There is innuendo.
Chronicle hasn't covered this thoroughly. They haven't even covered the Laura Owens deal, nor any of the papers. They have done these lengthy articles on Ronn Owens and his plight. And I very much sympathize with Ronn, who has had to deal with 4 bouts in his count, cancer, his Parkinson's disease diagnosis of years ago. And then this subsequent thing involving his daughter. But I also have to...
Okay, well, I'm going to disagree with him. The subsequent thing involving his daughter, it's actually been ongoing for a very, very long time, probably much longer than he's been ill. So, and he participated in this, obviously. And can I prove that? Not necessarily, not going all the way back to that, but to an extent, yes, because he was obviously aware of the fake pregnancies with Clayton, at least, and probably with Greg, and definitely with Mike, because he put it in the text messages that he knew like she was a little delulu, and he was just like, just say whatever you have to help me out with this, and then he like threw Mike under the bus later on. Like, you knew what you were doing with that one. So I have like a no forgiveness for this family because of how they treated Mike. But before that, you can kind of call it up in the air, because I don't know much about the other 2 or 3 that came before Mike. But at the same time, it's like, how could you not have known? There's just no way this all came out of the blue and you were all practiced and rehearsed and did the same thing over and over again. And you totally had no idea what was happening. I don't know, man. So that's where I definitely disagree with him.
Well,
it's not a subsequent issue. It's been an ongoing issue for a very long time.
Yeah, and when he says subsequent, he may only be talking about the criminal charges.
Yeah.
But to just play devil's advocate, I wonder. A lot of families are good.
Are we switching places? Yeah. Okay, good.
I know they're good at like keeping all these conflicts and problems under the hood, right? So that when you're in public, it's sort of like that. Maybe there's like. The workplace Ron, or the Ron that Rich knew versus, home life Ron, or other details about that they don't know. And and the other aspect is, it may be that Rich is sort of like, because of his friendships or his feelings, he's willing to just sort of put the blinders on when it comes to other things he does know about. Because I believe he's blogged about some pretty negative things related to Ron in the past, right?
I haven't seen his blog. I didn't know he had a blog somehow.
I think it's from before this YouTube stuff.
Oh,
but people found it. And so I think there was a time when they had a rift because of some of the business dealings with the radio company. And he wrote some blogs kind of throwing some shade at Ron.
Okay. Oh, drama. I have to find this blog now. I love that.
Here's the thing. It's sort of like, how like you'll have a rock band or whatever, and they'll go out and they'll be super popular.
Yeah, Bruce, all the time. I have a rock band.
And then, these rock bands, not that you're in one, but
no, I know.
Be in my band. But they get real popular, and then they break up because there's drama and they hate each other and they're fighting, and they're young, and
well,
whatever,
you and I are never breaking up, just for the record.
And then like 25 years go by and the band gets back together, because it's like, look, time has passed. Okay. So I feel like Rich here with Ron is in that time has passed, let's get the band back together emotional state, right?
Yeah, I mean, that tracks. I did not think about it that way. So yeah, I'm behind, but is the creep from 415? What's 415 Media? Help.
That might be the name of his blog.
Is it? Oh, I don't know. I wasn't calling him a creep. Hang on, let me see. Oh, it is his blog.
That sounds familiar.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily calling him a creep. Everyone's entitled to their opinions, guys. I had no idea what you were talking about. I'm sorry. I guess this person is from 415 Media. So, sorry, personal opinion. No, understand. Everybody's allowed.
We've seen a few hours of YouTube videos from this guy. We don't know this guy, right. What can we say? We're just trying to gather information.
It's not like he's in our band, Bruce. Jesus.
I know. He's not in the band yet.
All right, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna let him ramble a little bit while I do. I'm in a hurry though. Okay.
Oh boy.
Deal with you folks, and I say this. I'm not trying to be righteous or, holier than thou by putting myself in this situation. At first, and they were telling me this, both Ron and Jan, that the other side, these people are into headlines and gossip and trying to embarrass and put our daughter in a kind of a harm's way kind of a thing.
Why?
I understand.
Nobody's doing that.
But now I also understand the other side and the people like Dave Neal who have made various allegations themselves, which seem to have a bit of, if not a full bit of oomph behind their allegations, including one of the men himself, and that's Mr. Clayton Richard.
Clayton Echard.
This is the feeling out there.
He's not making
Where
allegations.
Is that money going?
He's saying, show me the proof she was pregnant.
Because
SAG-AFTRA
does cover medical expenses, especially with people who are fully vested. So did the Chronicle ask Ronn that? I understand the angst of being, without being a father myself, the fact that it is your child, even though she's, 35, 36, I don't know. I know she's in her mid-30s. But I also understand the other side now. And I really wish that this matter would be cleared up. Now, it's entered the legal domain, and yeah, there's certain things now you can't talk. But why?
Criminal court will clear it up.
Was there another article on June the 10th? Somebody told me somebody did another favor for Ronn and Jan. Now, look, even how can I put this? If they had commented to me off the record, or somebody had said, hey, look, we can't talk about this, or, we really don't, it's not just because of the legal situation. We just can't talk about it. Understood. But I've been getting massive, and I do mean massive. Where are you? Why are you silent, Lieberman? What's the deal? You yada, yada, yada.
Okay, so I caught that last part.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, I didn't, obviously I don't have any insight into that. Massive emails or, oh my God, I keep doing this to this guy's face. Hang on, I'm sorry for the freeze frames. No, my God. This is not okay. Stop it. There we go. Okay. I don't want to get him with his mouth gaping open. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I heard that. Obviously, I have no insight into his emails or whatever. But Mr. Note Taker, what happened while I was gone? What I missed?
Yeah, I mean, he's
40 minutes.
I think he's basically just recapping. He doesn't think the newspaper did a good enough job investigating. He understands now that there's sort of two sides to this story, and he's trying to understand both sides a little bit better. And again, he does that thing where he's like, oh, people like Dave Neal have all these allegations. Look, no, Clayton was the respondent in the paternity case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's not alleging anything. She was alleging that he got her pregnant with twins. Dave Neal covered the story.
I just like to point that out, from a blowjob. I love to say that because I'm like, remember how crazy she was, but then also she said it was from a blowjob. So then that's like the
Intimacy.
thing when I try to describe this from people, like to people when they're asking me about it, like people, just my friends and family who will like casually view my stories or something every now and then. I'm just kind of like, well, this lady said she got pregnant with twins and she didn't. And then I'm like, oh, but it was from a blowjob, by the way. So
yeah, that's the one that always blows people's minds. That and the tight email. Those two together are the main things that people just, their brains melt. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's really harsh on the newspapers here. And then when he talks about, he's like, well, there's another side, and it's allegations from Dave Neal. Dave Neal did a lot of investigative journalism. He uncovered a lot of evidence. He's not making allegations. He's showing you evidence. He's following the story. He's reporting on the story. If Dave were to go down a path where he said, in my opinion, XYZ, and then later found evidence that proved him wrong, he would change his opinion. Right. So I think he just needs to tighten up the language a little bit and give some of the investigative journalists a little more credit in the new media sphere here.
I go back and forth on that one because it's like we've been here for so long talking about all this stuff that I get frustrated. But then at the same time, it's like I got to remember some people got here 5 minutes ago, so they're not going to be perfect.
Sure.
Yeah. But my only problem really is with the psychologist who jumps the bandwagon and shit like that, and they're like, "Oh, she already has," and you know about that because we talked about this a couple weeks ago. It was like, "Oh, she has this disorder, this disorder." I'm like, first of all, you're a licensed professional. What the fuck do you think you're doing? And second,
that's just making bad decisions.
Sense. This is the worst diagnosis I have ever seen. So please shut the fuck up. But
yeah, that's a different story. And I'm not saying, Rich has to be perfect out of the gate or know the case backwards and forwards out of the gate. I'm just saying, as you go along, every time you do a video, just make your next video a little bit better or more detailed or more in depth than the last one. Like, as you go along, you're learning more, so you can be a little more informed. You can tighten it up a little bit each time you go. That's how it goes when you're learning to paint or to play a musical instrument or anything. You just try to do better the next time compared to the last time.
Well, I haven't tried much of that lately. Explains why I'm so loose, I guess.
What?
Loose? That was the reaction I was looking for. Oh God! So, like I said, guys, I don't want to play his whole. I don't want to play his whole video because I don't want to take away his kind of voice and his experience here. So we'll
tighten it up.
Yeah, we'll tighten it up.
Pun
there.
intended. Pun was unintended, but now it's intended.
We'll tighten it up there. But Bruce, I know you took notes on this whole thing. Was there anything else in the video that you felt like was pertinent to talk about that we did not get to?
Where'd my notes go? Oh.
I assume they're in your diary with the hearts around my name.
Oh. I think we covered it all. I think we covered it. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, so his personal experiences with the family and stuff like that, and some of his perspective on that, I want to make sure that we don't, play everything, because I feel like people should go watch him and listen to him talk about what he has to say. So, yeah.
And he has other videos too. Go check those out, covering this case. And you can usually tell from the title of the video whether he's talking about this case or something else. He's making progress. I think for his assignment for the next video is to get Clayton Echard's name correct.
Clayton Richard?
Yeah. Get the name right. And that's his homework. I'm giving him some homework.
Oh, guys, if you haven't seen this yet, you guys should watch. Hang on. Yeah, I'm not publishing. Let's pull it up. So I talked to Clayton. I was in Omar's office actually when I did this interview with Clayton, but I had a talk with Clayton. We sat down and talked for like an hour. It was pretty great.
Comparison.
I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. Let me show because a lot of people probably haven't. This is where it is. I put a link to it in the description of this video, but I'm also going to throw it in the chat right now.
You can pin it too.
Yeah. But nope, not in StreamYard. Let me go to actual YouTube. But Clayton, I talked about some stuff that he doesn't usually get to talk about. Obviously this scandal is like a thing that's been a common and predominant theme in like all of his interviews and stuff for a long time. So I was like, I really don't want to talk about Laura, because Laura is not like that important to who he is at the end of the day. And so if you want to hear more about Clayton and kind of learn about him and his life and where he comes from, I would definitely listen to that. As well as like he and I share a lot of the same views on just like general politics and relationships and how people are kind of treating each other these days. And also he's, as you can see in this interview, if you listen to it,
a very like look more like him.
He's a very introspective guy, and he's always trying to do better and to be a better person. And he's a very empathetic and understanding. And I feel like a lot of stuff you don't see on TV. You watch these TV shows, but we really don't know these people that we see on reality TV. We see some of their worst moments and worst decisions because it's like a messy thing that's going to get us to talk. And I feel like Clayton's taken so much flack online because of that. And I'm guilty of it too. Like I watch some reality TV shows and I'm like, oh my God, this person's a piece of shit. But at the end of the day, you don't really know these people. So if you want to know who Clayton really is and you haven't listened to him talk before, I think this is a good chance to do that because, well, he's a pretty great guy. And despite what his reality TV ex might say, I disagree. I think that he's a really good person. He's always been wonderful to me and made a really big difference in my life. So I appreciate that. All right, guys.
Yeah, this was a great interview in spite of your office there not being purple enough.
Dude, I'll give you... What's with the purple lights and the spiky background? It's like, Omar, this is at your house and your office. What is it with this decor that makes you so excited? Like,
he's got some moods. He's got some moods.
Yeah.
Lauren, did you see the Airbnb real estate video interview Clayton did?
No, I saw it was posted, but then I was working, so I didn't get to see it. Yeah.
So after you watch Lauren's video with Clayton, that's another good one to get some insight onto Clayton's life, because he goes through, coming out of the NFL practice squad to The Bachelor to moving to Arizona to starting an Airbnb, and it's very interesting.
Yeah. I am definitely gonna give that a listen. I just haven't had a chance yet. So, oh my goodness, what did I just do? I unplugged something. I don't know what it was, but hopefully it wasn't anything important. I think it was the stream deck.
We're still here.
Okay, as long as you can still hear and see me, I think we're fine. I'm gonna freak out about that later. Oh my god, I thought Bruce turned into Clayton. Oh yeah.
See.
Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna lie, it's been kind of weird because I got used to him with a mustache for so long. I was like, dude, where's your mustache? But I guess he still has it on Perfect Match, I guess, because they filmed that like a year ago. So
I don't think a year ago, but
I saw a year ago in some Reddit posts, but now that I think about it, I'm citing Reddit posts, which is not a great idea. So I don't know, maybe it wasn't a year ago. Yeah.
No.
Because that would have been right around the trial now that I think about it. I don't think
we were coming right out to look
for love. Yeah. I don't know anything about that show, but I will watch it. So all right. Yeah. Thanks everybody for hanging out. We appreciate you, and thank you, Bruce, for coming in and joining us from your van.
Thanks for putting up with my jank internet connection.
I mean, it really isn't that bad. In the beginning, it's like you were kind of pixelated, but we can see it clearly now. That's why everyone thinks that you're Clayton.
Okay. And it may look better after we end and it uploads. I don't know.
True. We'll true. Yeah. Or it may look worse on both ends.
That's what she said.
All right. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thanks.